Alex West here, reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
Okay, are you ready to go? Here we are on a Tuesday morning, May 20. Good to see you today. Thanks for joining us. It is the Bill Press Show. We are here in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, right on Capitol Hill, waiting for things to get underway here on a Tuesday morning. The House is back. The Senate is back. The President's in the White House. Should be able to get something done today, although don't count on it. We're coming to you live on Free Speech TV. If you got a satellite dish, you know how to find us on DirecTV and on the Dish Network. And we're coming to you live on our video stream worldwide, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. And things you're going to want to talk about this morning, and you know that's the trick. You can join the conversation anytime by giving us a two-way street here, giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS, sending us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Three big stories really this morning. The Department of Justice yesterday cracking down on spying, cracking down on hacking. No, they did not go after the NSA. They actually filed criminal charges against 5 members of the People's Liberation Army in China, accusing them of hacking into American companies and stealing economic secrets. The big question is, do they really think those 5 Chinese members of the military are going to come over to the United States and stand trial on criminal charges? Unlikely. In other big news, yes, the Veterans Administration, that scandal just gets worse and worse. Reported yesterday that President-elect Obama was actually warned by outgoing President George W. Bush that the VA is a real sinkhole and you better be very careful or things could really get messy, as they have. That and a lot more you're going to want to talk about, you're going to want to hear about right here on the Bill Press Show Tuesday morning. Good to have you with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful?
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university. And,
people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Who is spying on whom? That's the big question this morning. With news out of the Department of Justice yesterday. Hey, hello everybody. Tuesday morning, May 20. How about it? Good to see you today. You ready to start the day with our little roundup of the news of the day? We're located in our nation's capital. Great place to keep track of what's going on here with the federal government, the Congress, and the White House around the country and around the globe. We've been up all night tracking what's going on, ready to bring it to you and ready to take your calls. At 866-55-PRESS, ready to get your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Good morning on your local Progressive Talk radio station. And good morning on the TuneIn app, the Progressive Voices channel on the TuneIn app. Download it. It's free. And don't have to pay for all of this great talent that you get for 3 hours every morning. We're coming to you live on Free Speech TV, also simulcast on Direct TV around the country, and on our video stream. Doesn't matter where you are on the planet. Hello, Egypt! This morning, we are there with you at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. It's pretty scary that people in Libya are watching us right now.
Good morning, Libya.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Good morning, Egypt, Kazakhstan.
Libya, get out there, fix your country first, okay?
Yeah.
Then you
No
can come
time
back.
for it. We can wait.
Yeah, right.
We'll still be here.
Yeah. and you Russians out there near the border of Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Get away. Go home. Go home. Yeah, right.
We should just
we could
go around the globe solving problems.
Solve the problem.
Yeah.
Give out the orders from here to every little hotspot. All right. We'll do that one whole day. We'll just take over the globe.
Yeah.
It just takes a day.
Yeah. All right. How about it? Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy. Good morning, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Alicia Cruz. There she is. Big hand wave. Right with Cyprian Baldwin. We got a wave from Cyprian this morning. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Videographer.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Lock this cockpit door.
That's it.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, we're in trouble. Yeah, you know what happens when you give them too much booze in first class, and they start trying to get in there.
They get a little surly.
Yeah, indeed. So there's still repercussions over Karl Rove's comments about Hillary Clinton and having brain damage, and then moving on to just being too old to run for president. Conan O'Brien says, here's what, you wonder why this resonates among Republicans? Here's what's really going on.
Some Republicans are taking aim at Hillary Clinton's age. They're saying she'll be almost 70 when she runs. Yeah, Republicans said being old and white is our thing.
Yes, damn it. You stay away from those old white people.
Those are our people.
Those are our people. That's about all they got left.
That's right.
You know, that's why they're so sensitive about that. We love Tuesdays because Arthur Delaney is with us from Huffington Post, and Igor Volsky from Think Progress. Double trouble there every Tuesday morning. They're coming up, plus reporters from The Hill and the Washington Post on all the big issues of the day. And how about the China spies? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. We will start with sports, where last night...
the Nats lost.
Well, the Nats did lose, but I'm going to start with...
That's what we're going to talk about, of course.
No, I wasn't going to bring up that. I wasn't going to bring that
You weren't going to
quite
mention
yet.
the Spurs by any chance.
I was going to mention hockey. What are you talking about? Last night, the NHL playoffs continued. Come on, what are you talking about? The New York Rangers took on the Montreal Canadiens.
Killed.
New York Rangers are now up 2 games to nothing. They won last night 3-1. Meanwhile,
Canadians are not happy.
No, the Canadians everywhere are not happy. Meanwhile, tomorrow night, the Kings and the Chicago Blackhawks fight at 8 o'clock. See, we can pull for the Chicago Blackhawks now.
Absolutely.
Now that the Wizards beat the
them.
Bulls,
Right.
we can stick with the Blackhawks. Speaking of sports, yesterday, President Barack Obama surprised some Little League baseball players.
yeah.
He showed up to Friendship Park in Washington, D.C., where there were a handful of teams warming up for their practices. He showed up, wasn't wearing a coat, but he was wearing his tie, and he came out and said, quote, "What's going on, people? How's it going?" He found one girl who had her arm in a sling, and he said, "Hey, what happened to you? Were you sliding into home?" Some kids were a little scared. They didn't know what was going on. One 10-year-old boy just sort of went over to his dad and pulled his dad aside and said, "Can we just play baseball? I don't know what's going on." But the president threw a couple of pitches to some batters.
It was great.
Up.
It's great. He was on his way to a fundraiser out in Potomac, and he stopped by a Little League game.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, why the hell not? And let's say hello to Danielle Shea. She's 22 years old from Quincy, Massachusetts.
Hello, Danielle.
She flunked out of Quinnipiac University, but she continued to collect thousands of dollars in tuition money from her parents. So she did what any enterprising young student would do.
She spent it on pot.
She called in a bomb threat for the graduation ceremony this past weekend because her mother was showing up to see her daughter graduate.
Unbelievable.
In fact, she was not in school anymore. She has been arrested.
Can you believe that?
Don't call in bomb threats. That's always a bad idea.
I mean, there's so many levels of things she did wrong there, right?
This is like every step of the way she screwed up.
On what could have been her graduation day.
Yeah. Sorry, Danielle.
All right, here we go. Well, we know that. Let us start with a big announcement. It's the lead story everywhere this morning, on the news last night, and in all the papers this morning. And that is criminal charges filed yesterday by the Department of Justice in terms of spying. Well, we know, because of it, thanks to Edward Snowden, we know that the spying business is just like out of control, right? We've heard so many stories about they're coming after our phones, they're coming after our emails, they're going after foreign leaders, they're going after residents of foreign countries. We're talking about the NSA. So we've been, a lot of us, those of us who believe in civil liberties and in the right of privacy, have been saying that the Obama administration has to crack down on spying. It's got to crack down on this stuff. Well, yesterday, they did crack down. But I think they cracked down on the wrong people. They cracked down on 5 members of the People's Liberation Army in China. Eric Holder.
Today we are announcing an indictment against 5 officers of the Chinese People's Liberation Army for serious cybersecurity breaches against 6 American victim companies.
And Holder says, "We ain't going to take this anymore, damn it."
We as criminal investigators have been tracking these intrusion cases for a long time and put this one together as part of our effort to show we're not going to stand for this conduct.
Not going to stand for this conduct. And James Comey, who is the director of the new director of the FBI, right? He says that the Chinese military have been coming after American companies to the extent today that every company is being hacked.
There's only 2 kinds of corporations, big corporations in America. Those who have been hacked by the Chinese or those who don't yet know they've been hacked by the Chinese.
Now, here's my question about this, and I know at the risk, right, of sounding unpatriotic, right, I just think this whole thing is nonsense, what the Department of Justice did yesterday. Let's just talk first on a practical level, okay? Do you really think that these 5 guys are going to come back here and stand trial? I mean, Come on. We can't go over there and get them. We have no jurisdiction in China. We have certainly no jurisdiction over the Chinese military. But yesterday they actually put out wanted posters with these 5 soldiers' pictures on them. And I guess they put them up in post offices around the country. I mean, this is like a little silly, don't you think? I mean, it's almost like we're admitting that this is a farce, right? Because you know you're not going to get them, so why do it? Number one. Number two, again, at the risk of sounding unpatriotic, are our hands really clean when it comes to spying? Whoa, wait a second. What about the NSA? And again, listening in on every freaking phone call that we make, not just phone calls overseas, every phone call in the United States by every citizen, every person in the United States. What about all of that? What about checking all of our emails? What about listening in on Angela Merkel's cell phone and other world leaders? What about just tapping the phones of residents of Germany and France? I mean, we're the biggest spiers, if you will, I think, on the planet, and we're going after these 5 Chinese military. But, okay, now, what we say about that is, because this came up, of course, at our briefing yesterday, and other people asked it before I could of Jay Carney, well, wait a minute. Why is it okay for us to do it, but not for them? Well, Jay Carney insists there's a big difference. He says, we spy only for national security reasons. Yeah, tell Angela Merkel that, by the way. They spy for economic reasons. They spy for companies to steal company secrets to help their companies beat our companies in world trade. Jay Carney.
We have made clear that our signals intelligence programs serve a specific national security mission, and that does not include providing a competitive advantage to U.S. companies or U.S. economic interests.
Oh, yeah? Well, in part of the documents that Edward Snowden released, he revealed that we have spied on a company, Huawei, which is the largest internet company in China. And the New York Times, this is just about a year ago, reported secret documents reveal more than 1,000 targets of American and British surveillance, including the office of an Israeli prime minister, heads of international aid organizations, foreign energy companies, and a European Union official involved in antitrust battles with American technology businesses. And it goes on to other European companies that we have been spying against. So it seems to me, that we ought to clean up our own house first, maybe, and that our own house, our own hands are not clean when it comes to this international spying, and that the chances that we're ever going to bring these guys to justice are zero. So why kid anybody that we're really doing this? I don't get this. Don't you think? 3 reasons why I think this is a crazy thing that happened yesterday on the part of the Obama administration. Yeah, crack down on spying, but let's start by cracking down on the NSA. What do you think? 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-77-377. Yes, I still love our country. Yes, right? I don't want to move to China. Don't give me that crap. I just think in this case, this is nonsense on the part of the Obama administration. Tell me what you think. 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You make it sound very easy to take these 90-degree turns in your career. You went from engineering to law. But there's an awful lot of people at that age who feel they're on a track, they've invested time in learning a career, and they need to see it through to the end, or maybe their parents are pushing them to stay in one route. What is your advice for a young person?
Stay away from your parents.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
My mom is a pretty spectacular human being. We essentially came to the United States as refugees. And that is when I really got to understand who my mom was as a person. Being a refugee in a foreign country, you would think that it would affect you so much. It was like my mom, nothing changed for my mom. What was really at her core and her center was always being with her kids and getting to spend time with them and making sure that they were okay and making sure that they could still go out and play soccer. I knew that if my goal was to go to Liberia and to work on economic justice so that, kids could go to school and have access to a doctor if they have malaria, that if I bet on their moms, we win.
I think I just come from a lineage of kick-ass women is all I can say. My grandmother came to this country from Mexico as a single mom with 5 children. And I, have an amazing mother who had 3 children, was going to school, working full time. I mean, almost my story. But she did that and got her bachelor's degree at 40. And so I had a great role model. When I came home and told my mom I was pregnant, her response to me wasn't, your life is over. Her response to me is, well, I want a plan. You need to, let me know what you're going to do about this because you're now responsible for somebody else.
I was the first one in my family to go to college, and my parents were very proud of it. They both had to work. My mom in a factory and my dad in the supermarket, and I was their success story. However, on graduation day, they said, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be an engineer? You're going to be a businessman? What are you going to, lawyer? He said, I'm going to join the Peace Corps. And they said, what? My parents were very much opposed to this, and it was very difficult.
How much pressure did they put on you?
Tremendous pressure. Up until we were leaving from O'Hare Airport for me to go to Peru, my mother questioning me, like, where is Peru? You've never been out of the country. What do you know? Do they have doctors? Do they speak English there? What are you going to eat? You like my cooking? I said, Mom, I'm going to be a pioneer. Why do you always have to be the pioneer? Let them do it. Let them come back, and then you go. I said, no, I want to be the first to go.
I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, so there was a lot of gang activity, and one of my friends actually was murdered on a basketball court when a 15-year-old child shot him in the back of the head. And I was just hopeless. And my mom actually, she brought me to a place of empathy for the kids who were involved in actually murdering him, because my mom sort of said, look, where do you think those kids are coming from? And then she said, so if you're angry about it, do something. Actually change the way this world works.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org. to let us know your thoughts.
"24 minutes after the hour, the Department of Justice indicting 5 members of the Chinese military yesterday. So we've got to believe, how can we go after them when we're spying on everybody ourselves, including, by the way, I was reading more of this New York Times piece during the break. Targets, this all comes from the Snowden documents. Targets of our surveillance include the French company Total, which is their big oil and gas company, and the French company Thal, which is an electronics, logistics, and transportation outfit. I mean, you can go down the list of companies that we've been spying against, but the White House insists, and NSA insists, that we only spy for national security reasons, right? Do you believe that? Do you really believe that? 866-55-PRESS. Before we get to your calls and comments, Conan O'Brien last night said, here's the Chinese are really pissed off about this, and here's what they say it's all about.
The U.S. is accusing Chinese military officials of spying. Yeah. When asked why they did it, the Chinese officials said it's payback for all the times your students cheated off the Asian kid.
And we all know that's true.
That's pretty good.
Yes. Peter?
We have one comment on Twitter, @BP Show. You can join us in the conversation there. Actually, a couple of comments there.
Yeah.
One from Raising One Eyebrow says, Bill, this is hurting capitalism, U.S. capitalism. Don't forget about that. And then Nicholas says, do as we say, just don't do as we do.
Oh, excellent excellent comment. I think that's what it's all about. I mean, I must tell you, I don't believe the NSA about anything, right? Remember, it is led by the guy who went in front of who should be in jail, who went in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee and told Senator Ron Wyden when he was asked, he was he was told ahead of time by Senator Wyden's staff, the senator's going to ask you this question. And I don't have it word for word, but you remember the question, basically. Does the NSA collect data on millions of Americans' phone calls? And General Alexander said, no. He lied. He absolutely knew the question was coming, and he lied. So now, and nothing has happened to him, which is, I think, just outrageous. Anybody else would be convicted of perjury, and their ass would be in a federal prison right now. But at any rate, so now they say, believe me, we don't do what the Chinese do. We don't spy on other companies. We are the good guys, and they're the bad guys when it comes to spying. I think the reality is everybody spies on everybody else. Don't we know that for a fact? And I'll tell you, we do know it for a fact thanks to Edward Snowden. Again, all these documents, there hasn't been so much emphasis on how much we're spying on foreign companies. It's been more on world leaders and on Americans' phone calls and Americans' emails. But in the Snowden documents, there's all kind of names of companies. Boom, 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 boom. In foreign countries that we are spying against. So I just think this whole effort by the Department of Justice yesterday is an exercise in futility and maybe a little hypocrisy thrown in. Arthur Delaney next from Huffington Post.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I talk to undergraduates and graduate students who are desperate to go out and start something and build something and be the one to come up with that silver bullet solution. And I just want to say, slow down.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
Most of the people you're talking to who want to come into the social change space, are they prepared?
If you're early in your career, there's a couple of really important things to do. The first one is just to shut the hell up and don't talk for about 5 years and work really, really hard. The only way you're going to be given more difficult things to do is by solving the ones you're already given. And if you're somebody who's always complaining or wants to be promoted above where they really are, you can't learn enough to start to take on a greater pool of responsibilities.
Advice you would give a person coming out of college is go work for other people, make your mistakes on their dime.
That sounds like me, absolutely.
It does sound like you.
And you know who that came from is one of my board members, Eric Buttline. Eric had seen me start a few companies as a young kid. I mean, I started my first real company when I was 16. And Eric said, "Chid, do me a favor. I know you have this thing in your head that you think you're this great entrepreneur, but like go work for somebody for a little while and just learn how things are supposed to be done. And when you're done with that, let's have another conversation about, you know, your next venture."
And I think another thing to remember, and this is something that I've really only learned in the past couple of years, is that although the problems are urgent and so important for us to address, I need to have more patience. I'm not going to solve those problems on my own. You're not going to solve those problems on your own. I'm an apprentice in all of this. You know, I'm an apprentice in life. I'm an apprentice in problem solving. I'm not going to change the world until I'm at least 65. That's my goal at this point.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org. to let us know your thoughts.
Tune into the Thom Hartmann Program, a live broadcast featuring the nation's #1 progressive talk show host. Phones open at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Free Speech TV.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show at 33 minutes after the hour on a Tuesday morning, coming to you live from Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and brought to you today by the National Education Association. Great Teachers of America, the men and women of the NEA under President Dennis Van Rokel, creating great public schools for every student in America, you bet, and you can find out more about their good work at NEA.org. Paul Ryan said the answer to poverty is just love one another, be good friends, hug your kids, hug your wife, and you'll be just fine. Arthur Delaney is here from Huffington Post to tell us all about that. Good morning, Arthur. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Arthur, the middle class, working class champion at Huffington Post in the media. Only one covering these issues. That's why
5-time champion.
5-time. Nice. That's why we like having him in studio every morning. So first of all, I read on Huffington Post. Well, you and I have talked a lot about the minimum wage. President Obama was out again last week talking about the minimum wage. I read on Huffington Post that the White House does not pay its interns.
Outrageous.
Isn't this sort of a contradict their message on the minimum wage?
Yes, flatly. It's that simple.
And how do they get away with it?
I don't. Well, they're not getting away with it in the sense that people are criticizing them for it heavily.
They have some
because it flatly contradicts their message on paying workers fairly.
Now, one could say, I guess, I'm sorry, that one could say, well, they're not really workers; they're just college kids, right? Getting an experience for the summer,
right?
But they're working like 20. If you're a White House intern, you're working 24/7.
Yeah, one could say that, but one would be
Wrong.
lying or wrong. Yeah, to put it more charitably.
Right? I mean, they are. They're working 24/7. A lot of places do pay their interns. The White House doesn't. They don't con people. They people know before they get there they're not going to get paid. But still, it does seem to me if the president goes out and says to these CEOs, you've got to set the example. You don't have to wait for Congress to act, right? You can do what you can do as a CEO. He, as a CEO, could pay his freaking interns, right?
Absolutely. And I predict that the White House will, because it's not like it's so expensive to give them something.
Minimum wage.
And not just a stipend,
Minimum
at
wage.
least $10 an hour.
Right.
And, that would make the story go away. So that's what I think will have to happen.
So, do you think I should raise hell about this at a White House briefing?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Why not?
With your permission, I will.
Not to belabor this, but it means the job is essentially only open to rich kids. To kids
excellent
who,
point.
for whatever
Sure.
reason, have the resources to donate their labor to the White House because their parents will pay for their housing
Because
here.
their parents will subsidize them so they can say at the country club, guess what? Did you hear Johnny's working at the White House this summer, right? Yeah.
And it is a great opportunity. I mean, you do get
And my
compensated
other son, the doctor.
with opportunity and whatnot, but just pay them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They get rounded up every once in a while to go sit in the Rose Garden for a presidential event or watch the helicopter take off.
That stuff is cool.
It is cool, but
it don't feed you.
Right. On the other thing on the minimum wage, on the ballot in Switzerland on Sunday was a measure to raise the minimum wage, the highest in the world, to $25 an hour.
Wow.
76% of the Swiss people voted against it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
that country just must be a socialist hell.
which leaves Germany. What do we say, Peter? Germany's the country now that has the highest minimum wage, which is about $13 an hour, I think, something like that.
And that's why their economy is in ruins.
Yeah, right.
Completely collapsed in the Great Recession, never recovered.
And we can't get above 725. All right, now I read yesterday in the New York Times, we have talked about, on the subject of Paul Ryan, and what he wants to do about poverty. And he's got his own little poverty tour going on. He's showing up at all these poverty sites and everything. And he told a gathering up at the Manhattan Institute last week, quote, "The best way to turn from a vicious cycle of despair and learned helplessness to a virtuous cycle of hope and flourishing is by embracing the attributes of friendship, accountability, and love." That's the way out of poverty, Arthur. Friendship, accountability, and love. Now, why don't you realize that? You keep talking about more money for the poor. Just love them.
Right, and love and friendship, accountability, those are free. you can just go get those.
Don't cost the government nothing, right?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Paul Ryan has been talking this way for the past year. I think he's been on this poverty tour. He's gone to about a dozen different places around the country. I think he might be done. I think he might be entering the more promotional phase because this is the foundation for proposals he's going to come out with this summer. We don't know what they will be. Presumably they will be different than his budgets, which basically cut everything. But I'm sure soul fulfillment and friendship and love will be policy goals.
Maybe there'll be mandatory hugs, or something. I mean, yeah. Seriously, as Charles Blow points out, Mr. Ryan, as every poor person in America will tell you, you can't use friendship tokens to pay the electricity bill. You can't simply hug the cashier and then walk out with your groceries.
Right.
I mean, the idea, I mean, does he really believe this crap?
I think he does. And I did a story on Huffington Post last week tracing the origins of this kind of rhetoric. It is a particular flavor of welfare reform that was very popular in the 1800s. In the late 1800s. When this is before there was welfare.
Paul Ryan. Back to the future.
And Republicans resurfaced this Gilded Age charity rhetoric when they did welfare reform. And there were books popularizing the 1800s charity reformers. And these people, they said the same thing. We don't need to give poor people soup. Soup is just emboldening these tramps who are roaming from city to city. What they need is friendship. What they need is love. And what the reformers were saying was,
So he really took this right out of the history books.
I don't know if he is reading the history books or he's influenced by the people who have written them or read them, but he's certainly influenced by Newt Gingrich, who was a huge fan of them, and Bob Woodson, who is in this milieu. He's a charity reformer of today. But anyway, there was no welfare back then.
But he may not be read it, but he's channeling them for sure.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And they said, let's stop giving out soup to poor people. Let's go into their houses. We volunteers from the wealthier classes and find out, what's really ailing them. Figure out which ones really deserve help, which ones are just lazy or drunk, and give help to the ones who need it, but not just hand it out. Like, help them by showing them who we are as rich people, and let them see our shining example.
And they'll be happy.
And they'll learn from that. We'll reconnect the classes, and we'll mitigate the problems of isolation that come from poverty. That's why Paul Ryan is saying this stuff to a bunch of hedge fund people who also, by the way, might give money to Republican campaigns.
Gee, just by the way, and on that point, this Charles Blow in this column also points out. I found this is incredible. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the poorest fifth of American households contribute an average 4.3% of their incomes to charitable organizations. Okay, so the poorest fifth of American families, 4.3%. The richest 5% of American families gave an average 2.1%.
Ooh.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeesh.
So
Wow.
the poor
So
are actually, they have less and they're giving more away to charitable organizations in a percentage than the wealthiest people in the country do.
But here's another thing. Paul Ryan doesn't think you should just give money if he's really channeling this movement.
Yeah.
It's about giving you time. It's about about true compassion. The true meaning of compassion being suffering with poor people, like really sharing in their misery.
Volunteering, in other words. Is that?
Yeah,
no?
Volunteering. Donating your time and not just your money. We wonder, is he going to propose something that seeks to encourage people to do this, or will it just be, new schemes for giving poor people vouchers to get non-governmental poor relief? Don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, the contradiction is just so gross that on the one hand, cut every single program that helps the poor and the middle class, but don't worry because we're going to give you a hug. How far does that get you? How does that make you feel? Arthur Delaney's all over it here with the Huffington Post. You've had your own experiences, I'm sure, dealing with this kind of hard-hearted Republican. 866-55-PRESS. By the way, Paul Ryan was not alone at the Manhattan Institute. Jeb Bush was also there. And this is the so-called enlightened Republican, enlightened presidential candidate. His comments, when we come back, reflect Paul Ryan 100%. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number. Join the conversation here on The Bill Press Show with Arthur Delaney.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
At 12 minutes before the top of the hour here on a Tuesday morning, May 20. Igor Volsky from Think Progress joins us at the top of the next hour. Right now, we're talking economic issues, particularly the minimum wage and dealing with the poor, with Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post, the editor of HuffPost Live. HuffPost Hill.
The contributor to HuffPost Live.
Right, and editor of HuffPost Hill, right?
Both great products. Please consume.
There you go. All right, I want to come back to what's so at this Manhattan Institute in New York. You're right. It's a whole collection of hedge fund managers, which is sort of ironic, right? That they're talking about poverty and getting Paul Ryan and Jeb Bush to say, here's what we ought to do about it. So we talked about what Paul Ryan said, give them friendship, accountability, and love. Jeb Bush says, here's his answer, a loving family taking care of their children in a traditional marriage will create the chance to break out of poverty far better than any of the government programs that we can create. So if you follow that through to its logic, you get rid of child care, you get rid of Medicaid, you get rid of any program that helps the poor, and you just make sure that they're all married.
Marriage-cade.
Yeah, right.
I think, to be fair to him,
are these guys serious?
He must be talking about generational poverty, and he's got in mind statistics that show children from married parents are more likely to do better. It's not as if two poor people go get married, and then suddenly they have all this money.
Right. Yeah, we know how true that is, right?
And
two poor people go get married, and then suddenly their poverty disappears.
Yeah.
And there's a rainbow, and at the end of that rainbow is their little house with a pot of gold on the front porch.
That's what happened to me when I got married, Bill.
Yeah, right.
It was great.
Yeah. That doesn't happen.
No, it's just the opposite. The money starts disappearing. Right.
Now, the poverty experts at the Brookings Institution and elsewhere have long considered marriage very beneficial, though. To be fair, it's really, kids are better off in married households. They have, economically more chances of success.
I'm not dumping on marriage.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is marriage does not necessarily indicate greater wealth.
Well, how do you make marriage government policy when they tried this? There were these efforts to promote marriage after 1996, the welfare reform, talking about poor people. Marriage has always been part of this from the conservative perspective. And the government spent almost $1 billion trying to get people to get married, and marriage rates have just continued to go down.
Yeah.
So there's no silver bullet for getting people to get married.
All right. Now, a final point about this is, the New York Times quotes a Pew Research Center poll. Which has more to do with why a person is rich? He worked harder than others. 57% of Republicans believe that. Only 27% of Democrats believe that. Well, he or she had more advantages. Only 32% of Republicans believe that. 63% of Democrats believe that. Now, I got to say, I think the Democrats are right on this.
Well, and
most people are wealthy, started out with a lot of advantages. Even if they didn't have wealth, they had advantages to accumulate that wealth.
And if you look at the poll, most people agree with that Democratic side of that. If you lump in the independents and everybody, it's a majority who
51 to 38%.
Right.
If you're right,
who believe it's opportunity and not just hard work. But that's a perfect distillation of the difference between Republicans and Democrats on economic.
And when you start with that point of view, you end up with different policies.
Well,
correct?
if there are deserving and undeserving poor, and the undeserving are a significant number of the poor, that's a pretty powerful argument for the government shouldn't help them. It's a great excuse to cut every program that supports poor people because they don't deserve help.
Right, exactly. Now, let's take the flip. Which is more to blame for people being poor, right? How about lack of effort on their part? Republicans, 51% of Republicans believe that, only 29% of Democrats. Circumstances beyond their control, only 32% of Republicans believe that. 63% of Democrats believe that.
Right.
And they're right. In many, I'd say most cases, circumstances beyond their control.
Well, we've if you go, there's the distinction between deserving and undeserving poor has been something we've always had for centuries. Nowadays, though, we also have economic data, statistics about how many unemployed people and how many jobs there are, and we know that there are more than twice as many unemployed people as jobs, which would suggest there aren't enough opportunities for everybody to make it. But this ideology that there's undeservingness will persist, will never go away, has never gone away, can't be defeated. Its popularity goes up and down, and I think with Paul Ryan, it's he's trying to make sure this idea is more popular. He's probably succeeding.
I don't know how he's succeeding, but all I know is when you start with that frame of mind, the poor are going to get screwed by whatever programs or whatever products or proposals that he puts out there. That's why it's important that you're there fighting for them. Arthur Delaney on Huffington Post and all over radio and TV every day, too. Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you for having me.
You can find Arthur at HuffingtonPost.com. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Bauhaus was one of the most definitive design movements of the modern age, reaching its peak between the two world wars. The word Bauhaus, loosely translated from German, means house of construction or school of building. Bauhaus was a new type of art school. Historically, European art academies taught each design subject separately. The Bauhaus offered foundation training in many art and design disciplines. They believed in variety. Understanding mass production was part of the curriculum, and the school sought to develop students who could unify art with craft while embracing new technology. It was also the beginning of the art school as an alternative way of life. Germany at that time was a pretty conservative place. And before the Nazis said "Nein" to the Bauhaus, it was arguably the most celebrated art school in the world. Bauhaus thinkers believed the world needed to be fundamentally rethought. Unnecessary ornamentation was out. Minimalism was in. Good design required simplicity and geometric purity. One of the best known icons of Bauhaus design is the cantilevered chair. Designed by someone named Breuer, it was inspired by the steel tubes of his bicycle, and ultimately led to the first lightweight, mass-produced metal chair. Despite his success, Breuer concluded that eventually chairs would become obsolete, and everyone would soon be sitting on supportive columns of air. Bauhaus was all about innovation and inspiration. Nowadays, Bauhaus influences can be seen everywhere, from road signs and graphic design to big windows and even bigger buildings. In architecture, the international style, as it became known, influenced skylines the world over. Bauhaus was about ideas, reform, exploration and vitality, about making more tidy sense of the rapidly evolving world around us, and giving us more cool stuff for our apartments.
Tune into the Thom Hartmann Program, a live broadcast featuring the nation's #1 progressive talk show host. Phones open at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Free Speech TV.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Igorian's Delight. Igor is up next. Peter.
Quick story. This is good news. I know how much you like Chipotle.
I do.
The restaurant chain.
Yes.
They put out a statement yesterday. They made very clear that they are banning guns in open carry states, because they had originally not taken a stand on it. So some folks had shown up with guns in a Chipotle, and Chipotle put out a statement and said, look, we don't appreciate that. That made our guests uncomfortable. And so do not bring guns into Chipotle.
Good for Chipotle. I do not want a gun with my burrito bowl.
That's right.
Keep those guns away.
This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Okay, are you ready to go? Here we are on a Tuesday morning, May 20. Good to see you today. Thanks for joining us. It is the Bill Press Show. We are here in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, right on Capitol Hill, waiting for things to get underway here on a Tuesday morning. The House is back. The Senate is back. The President's in the White House. Should be able to get something done today, although don't count on it. We're coming to you live on Free Speech TV. If you got a satellite dish, you know how to find us on DirecTV and on the Dish Network. And we're coming to you live on our video stream worldwide, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. And things you're going to want to talk about this morning, and you know that's the trick. You can join the conversation anytime by giving us a two-way street here, giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS, sending us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Three big stories really this morning. The Department of Justice yesterday cracking down on spying, cracking down on hacking. No, they did not go after the NSA. They actually filed criminal charges against 5 members of the People's Liberation Army in China, accusing them of hacking into American companies and stealing economic secrets. The big question is, do they really think those 5 Chinese members of the military are going to come over to the United States and stand trial on criminal charges? Unlikely. In other big news, yes, the Veterans Administration, that scandal just gets worse and worse. Reported yesterday that President-elect Obama was actually warned by outgoing President George W. Bush that the VA is a real sinkhole and you better be very careful or things could really get messy, as they have. That and a lot more you're going to want to talk about, you're going to want to hear about right here on the Bill Press Show Tuesday morning. Good to have you with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful?
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university. And,
yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Who is spying on whom? That's the big question today. The Department of Justice says the Chinese are spying on us. Yeah, you don't think we spy on them too? Good morning, everybody. Spy versus spy. It is Tuesday, May 20. This is the Bill Press Show. We are in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, I should say. Great to have you with us this morning. And thank you for being part of the program as we boom out to you on your local progressive talk radio station. As we reach out to you on the TuneIn app. It's free. Download it and find us on the Progressive Voices channel. We reach out to you as well, simulcast on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. There is no excuse for not being able to join us this morning. No excuse for not being able to have your Igor fix, your Igor moment, all you happy Igorians out there. Hello, Igor Volsky.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very, very good.
Did you get those troops away from the border yet?
I pulled them back.
Oh, good.
All safe,
all right.
all good.
Job, man.
That's right. The elections can go forward in peace.
Igor's on it.
Yep.
Right.
So whichever oligarch is elected, it will be a smooth transition.
Prince Igor.
Yes.
Got it fixed here.
I like it.
That's all right. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Leading our team this morning, Alicia Cruz there. She will be right there to take your phone calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding has the cameras and the lights on. He'd better this morning to keep us looking good on the video stream and on Free Speech TV. Yeah.
You laugh, but we have done the show via flashlight before.
We did. That's why we keep our iPhones nearby.
Right, just in
with
case.
the flashlight app.
Yeah, with my big phone, it will illuminate the whole room. So don't worry.
Spotlight.
Yeah, I got you covered.
Well, this Veterans Affairs mess keeps rumbling and rumbling, and I think it's growing, and I think the White House has been a little slow maybe to get on top of it, because all we hear from everybody is how much we love our veterans. Jon Stewart had a little fun with last night, basically saying that's not good enough.
I want every veteran to know that America will always honor your service.
They serve and sacrifice.
The most honorable men and women.
The courage and commitment.
We appreciate you. We love you.
The best military in the world.
We have the finest military in the world.
So it's clear love and respect ain't getting the job done. So there's really only one way to put our government's full resources behind anything. If we really want to improve the life for these veterans, I'm afraid we have to declare war on them. Congress, write a blank check to fund Operation Enduring Waitlist, a war on error. Because if you want Americans to feel shock and awe, you'll fix this thing.
That's about right.
It's getting to the point where I just think they've just got a clean house.
I mean, this is the real scandal. Forget Benghazi, forget IRS. This is a real problem. Waiting lists, people covering up their tracks, problems for a very long time in the VA.
I know. And I think it's something that can turn around and bite the president in the ass I don't blame him for it, but he's just got to get on top of it. And what I think is like Dennis McDonough said, the president is madder than hell at this. Well, we haven't seen that, right? We haven't seen Obama go out and say, this is not going to happen. I will not tolerate this.
Yeah, it's really been an issue on the cabinet level so far. I mean, at some point, I'm sure they're doing all they can. I'm sure he is actually legitimately angry about it.
I am too.
But it's kind of an issue that's been lurking, and it's a shame they couldn't address it earlier until this kind of controversy really boiled over.
Right. And yesterday, yet again, Jay Carney at our briefing expressed total confidence in General Shinseki. Well, yeah, I don't know. Based on what? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. Well, on one hand, firing someone is the easiest way to kind of make an issue, sweep it under the rug. You really have to solve it. Now, is Shinseki the man to do that? There's differing opinions, certainly.
And there's an investigation underway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How long we got to wait for that investigation? You can't wait. You can't wait too long for that. Igor Volsky here with us this first half hour for a Tuesday morning. Then we'll be joined by Laura Barron-Lopez from The Hill. In the next hour, Josh Hicks from The Washington Post here in studio with us as well. We'll get to all the big news of the day. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. It was around this time yesterday that I reported that Godzilla had earned $196 million.
Did you see it over the weekend?
No. Was it good? Is
Peter
it good?
went.
I saw it. Horrible.
What?
Terrible.
No, you didn't say
Don't
horrible.
say
You just
that.
said.
The more I think about it, the less I like it.
Yesterday, you were mixed.
I said it wasn't good. It definitely wasn't good. Considering how high my expectations were,
You raised the bar too high.
it was so bad.
Oh.
Anyway, it didn't stop it from making a ton of money. I mean, $196 million in its first weekend. So the filmmakers didn't waste a lot of time. They immediately confirmed to Deadline yesterday that there will be a sequel.
Of course.
Like less than a day after the numbers come in, a sequel will be coming.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
I don't know if it's called Godzilla's or Godzilla versus Mothra. There is a Mothra reference in the movie, so.
Well, I heard Bryan Cranston has a very bad wig in this one.
He has a terrible wig.
They'll improve the hair.
They'll fix the hair.
Exactly.
I hope. The Merriam-Webster dictionary released their new words for 2014
the new list of words that were added to the dictionary?
150 new words, and a lot of them very techie, right? The hashtag, new word. Selfie.
Those aren't new words.
They're new according to the dictionary. I mean, these are slang, right?
But
These
I know. But
so, hashtag
selfie. First year, I thought
First
selfie
year.
would already been.
Tweep, like a friend on Twitter,
Yeah,
someone that you just know from Twitter.
I mean, a real new word would be like Igorian.
Yeah, did that make it on the list?
Wait till next year.
Igor,
Next year, buddy, we'll have
Okay.
those. Also, crowdfunding, big data, new words. Then there are also some culinary terms you'd probably want to hear about. Pho is a new word, like the Vietnamese
That
soup.
is not a new word.
I didn't think it was a new word either. Like, everyone knows what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's older than,
Yeah.
Also, turducken.
Oh.
New
That's
word.
not
Wait
new.
a minute. What, 10 years? No, we haven't been on the air 10 years.
It was 9 years ago.
9 years ago, John Podesta came on our show and told us how to make a turducken.
Yeah, well,
takes a while.
Here's the deal.
At the Center for American Progress.
Here's
But
the-
I mean, so that's
But
just
here's
made the
thing, like,
dictionary?
people have called it turducken, and it's sort of like a regional thing, right? People know, but it's not officially in the dictionary as a word.
I'm just saying the dictionary is so slow on the uptake here.
Exactly.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. And let's go to the NBA, where last night the San Antonio Spurs taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Spurs were victorious, 122-105. The big statistic there is that the Oklahoma City Thunder big man Serge Ibaka was out due to injury, so the Spurs racked up 61 points in the paint. That is the first game of the series, so Spurs are up 1-0 tonight. The Heat and the Pacers resume their series at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time.
May I remind you that you did that same story in the last hour? So,
I did not.
Are we going to have to hear?
I didn't do that story.
We did
Are we gonna have
hockey.
to hear
I
about
didn't do that. That's the one time I'm going to do it. I did hockey last hour.
And then you went.
No, I didn't.
You went from hockey to Spurs.
Wrong.
Run the tape.
Someone back me up on this. I purposely didn't do it. I saved it for now.
Cyprian knows. I know. I was just going to say we're going to have to hear the Spurs every
That's
hour.
the one and only.
At least he's not wearing a jersey.
It's news. It's news. I just report.
Thank you, Peter. All right. The latest posts there on Think Progress. You got to check it out. We tell you that. If you want to know how we stay on top of everything, here's the guy, Igor Volsky, Think Progress. You make it your homepage and check it out 9 times a day as we do too. Because last night you had a big new post on this crazy Louis Gohmert. What's he up to now?
Well, Louis Gohmert, who famously after the Gabby Giffords shooting in Tucson in 2011, said that he would be introducing a bill to allow Congress people to bring their guns to the chamber floor just in case there was a scuffle that needed remedying. Now is attaching a measure to the defense authorization bill. That's kind of the must-pass bill every year, authorizing funds to the Department of Defense that would allow service members to openly carry weapons on domestic military bases.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the Defense Department think about this?
No. They are no, not so much. It's a policy, actually, that's been in place since the days of George H.W. Bush. And as you can imagine, every time there's some incident, there's a shooting, you have kind of this rush by Republicans to try to overturn it. And military members say, look, we have security in these bases. We don't need any more guns.
No, I mean, how many incidents have we seen, right?
How many incidents?
The last thing we need are more guns.
Exactly, and with the suicide rate where it is for a lot of these active military members, it's just not a good idea. I mean, you see it in report after report after a mass shooting. They release their recommendations, and none of them say more guns. They talk about increasing mental health training. They talk about actually posting signs saying you're not allowed to carry guns. So just the opposite of what he wants to do. But it's funny, they are always the first people when there's some kind of situation to say, let's just listen to the generals. Whatever the generals want, the generals get when it's some kind of military situation. But here, it's a very ideological goal. They're ready to steamroll over those people to get more guns in the hands of everybody.
We'll see how much support Louis Gohmert gets even from his fellow Republicans on that one. Unlikely. And speaking of support from your fellow Republicans, Karl Rove is starting to get some flack from his fellow Foxers, right? I mean, ever since he made these comments about Hillary allegedly suffering brain damage, unlike where Fox News fired Dick Morris, I mean, with Karl Rove, they just keep putting him on every show so he can continue to double down on his remarks. But he's starting to get some feedback. Blowback, I guess.
He is. Generally, though, it's really remarkable how one comment in a seemingly off-the-record event in Chicago, L.A., has kind of dominated the news cycle. Now everyone's talking about Hillary, brain damage, concussion, what's really going on. I mean, he was just in the Today Show I saw for, day 6 or 7 of that story in a one-on-one exclusive interview. So he's really injected this into the conversation. He's had a history of doing it as a political operative. Everyone from McCain in 2000 saying that he has brain damage issues or psychological issues because he was a prisoner of war. And now he's up to it with Hillary Clinton. But he was on Fox News Sunday, this past Sunday. And it was interesting. You have on your panel Brit Hume, who's kind of the conservative guy, but then it was Kirsten Powers and Juan Williams, of course, kind of ganging up on Karl Rove and saying, what are you doing here? If you want to have a conversation about the issues, about the policy of Hillary Clinton, that's one thing. But going after these personal attacks, they said, is only helping Hillary. It's getting out the sympathy vote. So stop right there, Karl. Stop right there. And it was funny. He tried to kind of triple, quadruple down on it by reading the official definition of concussion, which included the phrase brain damage.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Come on.
And they were like, Kirsten was like, you're doing it again. So,
well, when he said, I never said brain damage, I said she had a serious traumatic brain injury or something like that. I mean, hello, what's the difference between those two phrases?
He's like blaming the headline writers. They went too far.
The other reason this would backfire, by the way, my column in The Hill this morning is on Karl Rove and the impact that his comments might have. If you go to thehill.com or we'll send it out, tweet it out, I'm sure. A little bit later, But I point out, they say that she's too old, right? She's too old. She'll be 60. He keeps saying she'll be 69. In November 2016. I actually point out that she will be exactly 8 months younger than Ronald Reagan was when he was elected president in 2000. No, what am I saying? 1980, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Republicans never dismissed him as an old fart, too old to lead
And there's
the country.
that joke, right? He made at the debate, I won't make light of my opponent's youth and inexperience, right? Yeah.
I hope this, I think it's starting to backfire on Rove indeed. But I'll tell you one thing. It's not going to have any impact on Hillary's eventual decision to run or not run. She's not going to do it based on what Karl Rove.
I was going to do it, but then Karl reminded everyone.
Republicans are still trying. Some Republicans, some have forgotten about Obamacare because it's working so well. Others are still trying to make a case. Oh, yeah, but what about those premiums? Think Progress is all over that. Among many other issues, and we'll continue with Igor Volsky and invite you to join us anytime here at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You make it sound very easy to take these 90-degree turns in your career. You went from engineering to law. But there's an awful lot of people at that age who feel they're on a track, they've invested time in learning a career, and they need to see it through to the end, or maybe their parents are pushing them to stay in one route. What is your advice for a young person?
Stay away from your parents.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
My mom is a pretty spectacular human being. We essentially came to the United States as refugees. And that is when I really got to understand who my mom was as a person. Being a refugee in a foreign country, you would think that it would affect you so much. It was like my mom, nothing changed for my mom. What was really at her core and her center was always being with her kids and getting to spend time with them and making sure that they were okay and making sure that they could still go out and play soccer. I knew that if my goal was to go to Liberia and to work on economic justice so that, kids could go to school and have access to a doctor if they have malaria, that if I bet on their moms, we win.
I think I just come from a lineage of kick-ass women is all I can say. My grandmother came to this country from Mexico as a single mom with 5 children. And I, have an amazing mother who had 3 children, was going to school, working full-time. I mean, almost my story. But she did that and got her bachelor's degree at 40. And so I had a great role model. When I came home and told my mom I was pregnant, her response to me wasn't, your life is over. Her response to me is, well, I want a plan. You need to, let me know what you're going to do about this because you're now responsible for somebody else.
I was the first one in my family to go to college, and my parents were very proud of it. They both had to work. My mom in a factory and my dad in the supermarket, and I was their success story. However, on graduation day, they said, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be an engineer? You're going to be a businessman? What are you going to, lawyer? I said, I'm going to join the Peace Corps. And they said, what? My parents were very much opposed to this, and it was very difficult.
How much pressure did they put on you?
Tremendous pressure. Up until we were leaving from O'Hare Airport for me to go to Peru, my mother questioning me, like, where is Peru? You've never been out of the country. What do you know? Do they have doctors? Do they speak English there? What are you going to eat? You like my cooking? I said, Mom, I'm going to be a pioneer. Why do you always have to be the pioneer? Let them do it. Let them come back, and then you go. I said, no, I want to be the first to go.
I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, so there was a lot of gang activity. And one of my friends actually was murdered on a basketball court when a 15-year-old child shot him in the back of the head. And I was just hopeless. And my mom actually, she brought me to a place of empathy for the kids who were involved in actually murdering him. Because my mom sort of said, look, where do you think those kids are coming from? And then she said, so if you're angry about it, do something. Actually change the way this world works.
is the Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour, Laura Barron-Lopez from The Hill will join us at the half hour. Right now we're visiting, as we do every Tuesday, with the managing editor of The Hill. Oh, my God. Comes in with his security guards. Igor Volsky on the bus.
Think progress, not The Hill.
Did I say
you
The Hill?
said The
I'm
Hill.
sorry. Think progress.
Can't tell if you're promoting me or what, but it is Think Progress.
Promoting you or putting you down.
Yes, I don't know.
What? So, they keep trying to find, there's got to be something wrong with Obamacare. We just can't stand all these good news. So now the latest is, you watch, your premiums are going to go up, dude. You got in, they sucked you into getting Obamacare, and the first year, your premium is going to skyrocket.
Yeah, it's legitimately though is
any truth to it?
Next big text. I mean, premiums are going to go up. Premiums go up with healthcare costs. As healthcare costs go up, your premiums are going to go up. The question is, how much higher are they going to get? Are they going to be these double-digit premium increases that are going to push people out of the market, or are they going to be lower than previous increases? And economists say because now you have the people who are coming into the market are healthier than the folks who signed up right away, because more insurers in some markets are joining and finally entering the exchanges because they think it's a good market for them.
They're making business. They're making money.
Yeah, they're making money. That the increases are going to be moderate. That there are trends in play here that it's going to make it difficult for companies to go double digit on you. Now, it's going to vary from market to market because in some markets there's a lot of different insurers. There's a lot of competition to keep those premiums down. In others, there's not so much. There's maybe one or two insurers, and that's where you have some worry. But for the most part, that's really the next test for Obamacare. What happens in these coming months as you get more and more premium data out there? Are the numbers going to go up really, really high? And if they do, it's a real legitimate problem.
Yeah,
but if they don't, and on average it's about $100, which is what the Congressional Budget Office predicts, then you can kind of stabilize things and move forward, and more people will join, and it's going to be okay. But certainly, there's no great guarantee because right now insurers are kind of calculating where they were last year, what that's going to mean for this year. But it's not as simple, at least, as saying, as conservatives are predicting double-digit increases, Obamacare falling apart. That's not the case.
Just about 30 seconds. Jill Abramson breaks her silence for the first time yesterday.
Doesn't say much.
I know. How did her speech go over at Wake Forest?
I think it went over okay. People were like, so are you saying there's sexism in the New York Times newsroom? Can you be more direct, please? I mean, that's really, she was hinting at it, but she wasn't saying it overtly. The question is, where does she go now? What happens?
She didn't go on the attack at all.
She's not removing that New York Times tattoo. Keeping it intact.
Because she says she's proud to have that.
The job of a lifetime, honor of a lifetime, she said.
You know where I think she goes next? I smell a book deal.
Oh, of course.
Huh? Don't you think?
Already being written.
Yeah, absolutely. Big advance. Thanks, Igor. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Bill Press Show.
Thank you.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I talk to undergraduates and graduate students who are desperate to go out and start something and build something and be the one to come up with that silver bullet solution. And I just want to say, slow down.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
Most of the people you're talking to who want to come into the social change space, are they prepared?
If you're early in your career, there's a couple of really important things to do. The first one is just to shut the hell up and don't talk for about 5 years and work really, really hard. The only way you're going to be given more difficult things to do is by solving the ones you're already given. And if you're somebody who's always complaining or wants to be promoted above where they really are, you can't learn enough to start to take on a greater pool of responsibilities.
Advice you would give a person coming out of college is go work for other people, make your mistakes on their dime.
That sounds like me, absolutely.
It does sound like you.
And you know who that came from is one of my board members, Eric Buttline. Eric had seen me start a few companies as a young kid. I mean, I started my first real company when I was 16. And Eric said, Chid, do me a favor. I know you have this thing in your head that you think you're this great entrepreneur, but like go work for somebody for a little while and just learn how things are supposed to be done. And when you're done with that, let's have another conversation about, your next venture.
And I think another thing to remember, and this is something that I've really only learned in the past couple of years, is that although the problems are urgent and so important for us to address, I need to have more patience. I'm not going to solve those problems on my own. You're not going to solve those problems on your own. I'm an apprentice in all of this. I'm an apprentice in life. I'm an apprentice in problem solving. I'm not going to change the world until I'm at least 65. That's my goal at this point.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org to let us know your thoughts.
Tune into the Thom Hartmann Program, a live broadcast featuring the nation's #1 progressive talk show host. Phones open at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Free Speech TV.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour. Good morning. Good morning. It is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., brought to you today by the International Association of Iron Workers. Iron Workers, period. The sky is the limit for them, you bet. And you can find more about their great work at their website, www.ironworkers.org. Good men and women of the Ironworkers under President Walter Wise. Well, we have heard a lot about climate change lately, from the UN report a couple of months ago to the White House report a couple of weeks ago to NASA's report about the Antarctic ice shelf melting. NASA's report that last month was the hottest April, second hottest April in recorded history. Are we ever going to see any action on climate change? Laura Barron-Lopez is an energy reporter for The Hill and joins us in our studio this morning. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm proud to be your colleague on The Hill. It's a Tuesday, so my column is in The Hill this morning. About Karl Rove and his comments on Hillary Clinton. You can find that at thehill.com. So there's going to be a big rally on the Hill this week about climate change, right? Led by, and tell us about it.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's led by Senators Barbara Boxer of California and Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. They're very big activists, advocates for climate policy in the Senate, and they're going to have a big group of lawmakers, House and Senate lawmakers, that are going to rally on the Upper Senate Park and to try to wake up Congress to the effects of climate change.
When is this? Tomorrow?
This is on Wednesday, yes.
Wednesday, right.
In the afternoon, about 4 p.m.
And they've got a whole crowd of environmentalists coming, one hopes, at any rate. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Is Jim Inhofe going to be there?
Likely not. Likely not. He's one of the most outspoken climate skeptics in Congress.
Climate deniers, joined now recently by Marco Rubio.
Yes. Recently, Rubio was saying that he thinks that climate change isn't man-made, and that he's very opposed to any hardcore climate policy.
Right, yeah. He believes there is such a thing as climate change, but that man has nothing to do with it, therefore we should do nothing to try to end it, because it'll take care of itself. Once Miami is underwater, maybe it'll take care of itself. But what does all this lead to? Any real hope for any legislation?
Legislation coming out of Congress this year? No. And probably before 2016, likely not. But Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island is pretty optimistic that after 2016 or around that year that maybe some legislation can be pushed through, whether it's a carbon tax on some of the nation's biggest polluters. But right now, the only thing you're going to be seeing are the regulations put forward by the administration. So the carbon emission limits on power plants.
Right. So that the White House has sort of decided that they've accepted the fact that they won't get any cooperation with the Republicans in Congress. So they're focusing, the president is, on what he can do by executive action.
That's right.
Whether it's CAFE standards for new cars or new rules for rules on coal-fired power plants.
There you go. You got it.
Oh, man.
That is tough.
How dyslexic this morning here. When do those rules come out?
So the one for new power plants was already proposed. That rule was already proposed. So the administration is working on finalizing it, the EPA, rather.
That's out there for public comment right now?
It's out there. It's in the Federal Register. You can go take a look at it. And right now, so what the administration is working on is to propose by June rules, the carbon emission limits rules for coal-fired power plants for existing power plants. Which is a probably even more contentious rule than the new power plant one, just because it's for plants that are already out there. And, coal companies are worried and coal advocates are worried that it's going to effectively shut down all these plants.
Well, it'll certainly require these utilities that are currently using them to make some changes, right, to comply.
Yes.
With the new, I mean, I'm sure they'll have time. It'll be over time. They have to do it, not overnight. How many coal? Do you know how many coal plants we have? I mean, are we built? Are most of our power plants coal fired?
The majority of them, yes. And coal is, the cheapest fossil fuel, which is why it's lasting so long, because it's hard for us to find an alternative to that. I mean, the closest is natural gas.
Right.
And even that, when we've experienced harsh winters like we did this past year, far more severe than we have in any recent years, then coal is the backup, and we had to revert to coal this last year. So it's definitely, like you just mentioned, EPA Administrator McCarthy is saying that she wants to be as flexible as possible while being aggressive with these rules, that she wants to be sure that states are allowed the time that they need to adapt, that they're able to find the best technology for them to then limit their carbon output.
But every time that I sort of forget how dominant coal is, I'm reminded of it. Just here in Washington, D.C., you see these freight trains coming through, just loaded with coal, feeding power plants in this region. So it's like...
It is very prominent and still used.
And with the reluctance of Congress to do anything, more and more action is happening at the state level, isn't it? There's a big article in the New York Times this morning that Governor Jerry Brown has said, this is the top priority for California. Washington State, Oregon State, certainly the West Coast, they've all adopted very, very tough regulations on power plants. Yeah.
That's correct. They are. Jerry Brown is is, at the forefront of this. California is trying to push this, as well as some eastern states. There's a regional greenhouse gas initiative on the East Coast. And so there's a slew of some states right here that are trying to also put in place a cap and trade or a carbon tax on polluters.
I think we have Governor Jerry Brown talking about climate change as a top priority. Here he is.
It's something that is yet to fully capture the public imagination. There's still great denial.
Yeah, still a lot of denial out there.
That's true.
But you hear about the flooding on the East Coast, and there's been serious problems on the West Coast as well, with the cliffs along the Pacific being weakened and homes falling into the
wildfires as well.
And the wildfires as well, right? So it's just a combination. You just wonder, Peter. We were talking about this the other day. What's it going to take? Right.
Yeah. There's a new story in the New York Times this morning that basically says everything is melting everywhere. Everything is melting. I'm summarizing a little bit, but yeah. And I always wonder when I see story after story after story, what is it going to be? What is it going to be that wakes deniers up? Right. I mean, we've had science after science and study after study, and nothing seems to click with people who are just going to deny it.
Well, some have said that it's the way that the media is writing about climate change, or when they have debates on stations like MSNBC or Fox, they always pit one, most likely Bill Nye the Science Guy, against some other climate skeptic in Congress, and a lot of they're saying the way to get past that is just to have a policy debate, rather than is this happening or is this not happening debate.
Yeah. So, and you still have, again, in addition to the deniers, a lot of people who feel that EPA is overstepping its bounds, right, going too far. I saw one of your stories in the Hills where, Governor Rick Perry from Texas, right? EPA, they're calling him a den of activists.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He railed against the Obama administration's energy policies on, he sent the letter to Obama on Friday, but it was released on Monday, and he's saying that the EPA is overreaching with the coal rules for the power plants, and that it's going to hurt the economy, it's going to hurt jobs. He also goes into Keystone XL, saying a way to help create jobs through energy policy is approving that. And he also attacks Obama on natural gas exports, saying that, this is something that Congress and the administration need to speed up.
Yeah, just what we need in Texas along the Gulf Coast, particularly more pollution. Yeah. What about Keystone? Where are we with Keystone Pipeline?
Well, right now, the State Department froze its 90-day interagency review clock. So that was about a month ago now. And there was only 14 days left on the clock. And when that ended, then Secretary of State John Kerry would have had to give President Obama his recommendation on whether or not the pipeline was in the nation's best interest. So by freezing that clock, they told their agencies, we want to give you guys time, all the ones that are able to comment on it, so EPA, DOE, Department of Energy, everyone, we want to give you time to figure out what's going on in Nebraska, because there's litigation going on there right now. And what happened is that essentially the route of the pipeline is in question. So that's where it's at. The clock is frozen, and there likely won't be a decision until sometime after the midterms. If there is one this year at all.
Do you agree with those who say that it's already a done deal, that Obama's already made up his mind that there's no way he approves a pipeline?
I don't know if I would say that. Because, on one hand, both sides are arguing he has enough information already to make his decision. So, maybe he has decided that he's going to rule against it. But I wouldn't say that he has, just because of the fact that now you're starting to hear from people like the EPA Administrator McCarthy that no matter which way Obama rules on this pipeline, it's not going to define his climate change legacy, which is one of the biggest, one of the biggest second-term legacies that he wants to leave behind.
Yeah.
So, as well as, Tom Steyer, who's a billionaire climate activist, former hedge fund manager, who's really risen in the political game when it comes to the 2014 campaigns. And he even said that, and he's a strong opponent of Keystone XL, of building the pipeline, but he said that he doesn't think that it would define President Obama's legacy. And so that's kind of leaving room, I think, for, letting Obama approve it if he has to.
Yeah. I disagree with that. I mean, I think after all the comments the president has made about moving away from a fossil fuel energy policy into a real renewable energy policy, to approve Keystone Pipeline would be a big contradiction. Not that he couldn't do it and survive, but a big contradiction. Laura Barron-Lopez is with us. She's energy reporter for The Hill. So many aspects of energy policy to talk about here. And your questions and your comments are always welcome at 866-55-PRESS. We'll continue the conversation when we come back. Just a minute.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You got it 11 minutes before the top of the hour, Tuesday morning, May 20. Josh Hicks from the Washington Post will be here with us in the next hour to tell us all about the VA scandal, what's really going on, who's responsible, and what's being done about it. Right now, we're talking energy policy with Laura Barron-Lopez from the Hill newspaper with all the different aspects of solar energy. Laura, the White House climate change report, pretty bold report, and really leaving no doubt about the impact of global warming on this country at this time.
That's right.
I mean, it's like everywhere.
Exactly. The report was 841 pages, and it detailed, as you can tell by the length of it, exactly what was going on in 8 regions of the country. It broke it down into very granular aspects, saying that this is what's hitting the Southwest, this is what's hitting the Northeast. And it said, without a doubt, climate change has moved firmly into the present.
Right. And did it recommend any specific actions, or just sort of saying, hey, this is really bad?
No, it had recommendations as well. It says that at the state level, which is part of Obama's climate agenda, helping with initiatives that will get local governments so they're more resilient to climate change impacts, whether that's understanding the data. So they're helping with all those climate hubs that he announced earlier this year, which will allow interaction between the federal government and local and state governments, so that way they know how the climate is changing, what they can do to prepare for it, or what they can do to curb what's occurring. So whether that's limiting their fossil fuels and their carbon outputs and greenhouse gas output.
And part of this rollout was putting solar panels on the White House roof?
Yes, that's correct. So solar panels were put under President Jimmy Carter, first put on the executive mansion. And then when Ronald Reagan came in, he took them off. And so President Obama put them back on again. And they covered the executive mansion. It was his way of saying that, leading by example, that the administration wants to show that they're also pushing for more renewables and cleaner energy.
Every time I go to the White House every day, and I keep looking for those solar panels, but that's the thing, you can't see them from the White House roof. They also had a limited space there because there's so much security apparatus and material. God knows what's on the White House roof, but you see the guys walking around up there with their guns, and there's a little Secret Service little hut there up on the roof, and so there are other things going on than just solar panels.
Exactly.
But I think that's a great example for the president to set. I can do it on my house. You can do it on your house. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. He wanted to show that solar energy is becoming more affordable, because it wasn't. About probably 5 years ago, it was very expensive, and now he wanted to, with his speech at Walmart, showed that companies, he had about over 300, municipal governments, companies, retail, hospitalities, that committed to boosting their solar output.
Yeah.
About a few weeks ago when he announced the panels on the White House roof.
Well, gradually we're moving into where a lot of us have been talking about we need to go for a long time, which is a renewable energy future, and President Obama taking a lot of steps to get us there. Laura Barron-Lopez, thank you so much for your good reporting at The Hill.
Thanks for having me.
My colleague, and thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
All right. I'll be back and tell you, speaking of the president, what's on his schedule today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I commute. It's about a.
Yeah, I know the first 2 hours were great. The third hour is going to be even better. Sorry to lose you on Free Speech TV, but come on over to our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, and join us as we talk climate change and whether we can ever get anything going on the Hill with Laura Barron-Lopez from the Hill newspaper, and then Josh Hicks from the Washington Post to get us right into the heart of the Veterans Administration scandal. What happened Who's responsible, and what are we going to do about it? Hour number 3 coming up.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine. I would make medicine for the sick. I'd probably invent something new. If I could have an extra 5 years to live. You said 5, right? 5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much. I would get more hamsters. I would probably want to go looking for dark matter. I think I'd go looking for aliens. If I could live an extra 5 years. I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood. I want to go check out the moon sometime. I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna. I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks. Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas. I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
This is the Bill Press Show.
3 minutes now before the top of the hour. Oh, this whole mess with the Veterans Affairs. Look, there have been complaints about Veterans Affairs and delays in getting treatment to our veterans for years and years. Didn't start with this administration. But the stories, particularly out of Phoenix, where allegedly some 40 people died because they were in line and couldn't get treatment fast enough, are really, really troubling. What's the story? What's going on? Who's responsible? Josh Hicks from the Washington Post joins us in the next hour to tell us all about it. President Obama, only one public event on his schedule today. Actually, it's not so public. He's going to join a meeting of business leaders from around the country and around the world to discuss the importance of investing in well-paying jobs in the United States. That's at 10:45 this morning. And this afternoon at 5 o'clock, he'll be meeting with Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel. We have our briefing today with Jay Carney at 12:45.
This is the Bill Press Show.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org. to let us know your thoughts.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governor should come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption, they lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up if you're not eligible for Social Security. So the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself blood pressure or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor's allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100 and I'm 81 years old and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for. I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians are ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed to where we're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is the world of spy versus spy, China versus the United States today. Hello, everybody. Tuesday, May 20. Welcome to hour number 3 of the Bill Press Show this Tuesday morning. So good to see you. It's a beautiful day here in our nation's capital. Hope it's a good start to the day wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours. We are there with you on your local progressive talk radio station this Tuesday morning. We are there with you on your iPhone or your iPad and the TuneIn app, Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn app, and we are there with you worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And thanks for signing up. Thanks for jumping on board here this morning. Lots to talk about for a Tuesday morning. The House is back. The Senate is still in town. The President's in town. So, possibility of getting something done today. I was always getting excited when everybody's here.
Come on now.
But whatever.
I love your optimism.
Keep hope alive.
That's it.
We've got it. We'll look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS. We wait for your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Our team is here this morning, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Hi there.
Alicia Cruz, there she is, on the phones, bank of phones, waiting to take your calls, again, at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, on the job on the video stream worldwide. So if you're sitting back in Sweden watching, then you know Cyprian is a man to thank for that. I heard about this and I still couldn't believe it. And Conan O'Brien talked about it last night, that Rush Limbaugh, who's written several political diatribe books, has actually come out with a children's book.
Yeah. We talked about this last week. Rush Revere is the name of it. He has a whole new character.
They're trying to inculcate and warp these little minds. That's what it is, right? And try to turn them into right-wingers from the cradle on. Anyhow, Conan O'Brien talked about what Rush Limbaugh really wrote about.
Rush Limbaugh has written an award-winning children's book. That's true. No, that's the true part. That wasn't the... I'm killing with these people on that setup. Rush Limbaugh has written a children's book. Yeah. Sure. The book is called The Lion, the Witch, and Other Things I Saw While I Was on OxyContin.
Too true.
Oh, people will never forget the OxyContin, right?
No, of course not.
And they shouldn't. Not, no way. Josh Hicks from the Washington Post here to talk about the Veterans Affairs a little bit later in this hour. But we start out with the big U.S.-China spy war. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news.
Yes.
Forbidden love in the Vatican, Bill. There have now been 26 women who say that they are so in love with Roman Catholic priests that they have written a letter to Pope Francis urging him to make celibacy optional. They love these priests. They want to
marry them
with these priests. They want to marry these priests. Celibacy, of course, goes back 1,000 years in the Catholic Church. It's not unchangeable, but there's certainly doesn't seem to be any movement to change that.
But you make the point. It goes back 1,000 years. It doesn't go back 2,000 years.
Right.
So
exactly.
it did change halfway. Right. So these women, I love this. I saw the story. These women, they're in love. Do they name the priest by name? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
The calendar, right, of all the hottest
But why
priests
didn't the priest write the letters?
That's right.
Memoirs.
You'd think that they had, right? But no.
That they would say, we love these women so much, we want to get married, and we still want to be priests.
Maybe that's the next step.
Maybe that's the next step. And the Pope has said
nothing yet. Stay tuned.
All right.
We're going to keep our eye on this.
Find
story.
out.
Some sad news for Denver Bronco fans. Peyton Manning was arrested and charged with possession of cocaine and marijuana.
Oh, no, really?
Not the quarterback, Peyton Manning. However. Not the quarterback. This is an 18-year-old female with the name Peyton Manning in Tennessee. Same spelling, same everything.
Wow. Oh.
She comes from Tennessee, and she's about 18 years old, which is about the time that he played for the University of Tennessee. So people are probably thinking that the family named her after Peyton Manning. But she was found with 2 mason jars of pot as well as baggies of cocaine dissolving in a cup of Coca-Cola while she was driving.
Whoa.
Again, not the professional athlete Peyton Manning. Just want to put that out there. But if he was searching the news for his name, he certainly had a bit of a wake-up call.
And some people are going to believe it was him.
Of course.
Yeah.
And let them.
Yeah.
And let them. And again, yesterday we reported on California Chrome, the first horse in 36 years to have a shot at the Triple Crown. Would the horse be able to wear the nasal strip that he's been wearing for the past 2 races? Yesterday, it was unanimous at Belmont Park. Judges have approved the nasal strip.
Yes.
Not just for California Chrome, but for any horse who would like to wear it at the race.
I said yesterday that was the answer. Let every horse wear the nasal strip.
Sure, and they all have. It's just there was a question of whether or not it was an enhancement, and they resolved that it's not any kind of performance-enhancing apparatus. So June 7th, that's the big day. For
Here comes a Triple Crown.
It could very well be, right?
be.
I mean, I couldn't get through the show without my nasal strip.
Yeah, exactly.
Every morning, right? So I think it works for me. It works for California Chrome. I need something. Get up so damn early. So good for California Chrome. Yes, indeed. So you probably heard about this yesterday. It is the top story, was the top story on the network news last night, every one of them. It's the top story in the Washington Post, the New York Times this morning, and probably your local paper as well. And that is the charges filed yesterday by the Department of Justice against China. 5 people in the Chinese army. Now, I know as Americans we're supposed to say, yay, we're tough. We took some action. Let's go get them. But, I got real questions about this and love to get your comments on it. So, first of all, we know that we've had this just explosion of spying lately, particularly spying on us Americans, right? We learned, thanks to Edward Snowden, that NSA is tapping all of every phone call, monitoring every phone call, keeping all that massive phone data, monitoring and keeping data on every single email of every American. We are spying on foreign countries, foreign companies, foreign leaders. We tapped Angela Merkel's cell phone. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And a lot of us have been saying, come on, President Obama's got to crack down on this spying. It is out of control. Well, yesterday, the Department of Justice, under President Obama's orders, did crack down on spying, but they cracked down not on NSA, they cracked down on 5 members of the Chinese army, 5 members of the Chinese Liberation Army, this one unit over there, with a number, it's a funny number that they were all in that one unit of the military at any rate, and accusing them. I mean, they actually filed criminal charges against these 5 members of the Chinese military, accusing them of hacking into the software of American companies to learn their trade secrets. Now, we're supposed to be really happy about this? Well, first of all, let's just listen. Here's Eric Holder announcing the indictment.
Today we are announcing an indictment against 5 officers of the Chinese People's Liberation Army for serious cybersecurity breaches against 6 American victim companies.
And Eric Holder says, damn it, enough is enough.
When a foreign nation uses military or intelligence resources and tools against an American executive or corporation to obtain trade secrets or sensitive business information for the benefit of its state-owned companies, we must say enough is enough.
Now, again, what are we supposed to think about this? Well, I know maybe, the initial first reaction might be, hey, we're Americans. We're going after those Chinese.
Go get 'em.
This is good. Let's go get them, And I hate to appear unpatriotic, but that's not my first reaction. My first reaction is a little different. Number one, I want to know, how the hell are they going to get these guys? I mean, isn't it pretty clear? They're not. They actually put out the old-fashioned wanted posters yesterday with a picture, 5 posters, each of them with a picture of one of these Chinese soldiers, right? What are they going to do? They're not going to come. They're not going to volunteer to get on a plane and come over here and stand trial, and we can't go over there and get them. So they can put up these posters at every post office in the United States. It's not going to do any good. I mean, I don't see, and Jay Carney admitted this yesterday at the White House, there's no realistic way that we will ever bring these 5 soldiers to trial. And by the way, if these 5 soldiers were doing this, you really think they were doing this without the approval of the top guy, sure, right. President Xi, right? So I think it's sort of a little silly because we're not going to be able to do anything about it, number one. Number two, again, I know, you may think I'm unpatriotic, but I have to ask, who the hell are we to preach to anybody else about spying? After what we've learned from Edward Snowden up at the NSA, spying on us, monitoring all of our phone calls, lying to the United States Senate about it, and then we are also spying on people in other countries. We are also spying on foreign leaders, and we are also spying on foreign companies. In the documents that Edward Snowden released, we have spied on, among others, a company called Huawei, which is the biggest internet company in China. We've been spying on Total, which is the biggest refiner, oil and gas producer in France. It goes on and on. So, it seems to me we're doing the very same thing that the Chinese are doing. Now, Jay Carney and the NSA has been saying this, and Jay Carney again at our briefing at the White House said, no, that's not the case. There's a big difference. Jay Carney says, we only spy for national security reasons. They spy for economic reasons to help Chinese companies. Here's Jay Carney yesterday.
We have made clear that our signals intelligence programs serve a specific national security mission, and that does not include providing a competitive advantage to U.S. companies or U.S. economic interests.
Well, do you believe that? I mean, I don't believe anything the NSA says, number one. I don't believe anything the administration says about spying because, they denied for a long time that we were doing this. It turns out, thanks to Edward Snowden, we know that we are. And if we're only spying for national security reasons, why are we spying on the French oil and gas company? Why are we spying on the Chinese internet company? Why are we spying on all these other companies in Europe that are identified? These companies, businesses in the European zone, for national security reasons, really? I just think, we have to clean up our own house first.
Yeah, exactly. When you talk about patriotism, right? It's this idea that we're better, right? We're proud of where we are. We do things better. America offers more opportunity than a lot of other countries. We offer a lot more freedoms than a lot of other countries.
All of which is true.
And yeah, absolutely. But then when you get into this issue of we are going to point fingers at people for doing something that we think is reprehensible, that we are doing. I mean, we are doing this.
Yeah.
There's no arguing that. And we lied about it. There's not a good leg to stand on there.
The New York Times reports that the Snowden documents revealed more than 1,000 targets of American and British surveillance, including an Israeli prime minister, including, of course, the Chancellor of Germany, including heads of international aid organizations, like Doctors Without Borders. We were spying on them. Why are you spying on them?
Right, why?
Yeah. Foreign energy companies, I mentioned, like Total, and a European official involved in antitrust battles of the American technology businesses. So I think, with all the spying that we are doing, again, on foreign companies, to indict 5 members of the Chinese military for spying on American companies is a little kind of two-sided here, a little two-faced, a little speaking out both sides of our mouth. And also, nothing's going to happen. The chances that we're ever going to bring them to trial are zero. Why do we even do it? Does this make any sense to you? Not to me. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here Tuesday morning on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat?
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour. So the Department of Justice yesterday, criminal indictments against 5 members of the Chinese military for spying on us. Of course, we spy on them, but that's okay. It's okay if we do it. Just damn Chinese can't get away with it. We're going to indict them as well. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number. Maria out in Morris, Illinois. Hello, Maria. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. What do you think of this?
I think that the politicians are only worried about themselves and taking control of us, the people, and therefore they need to do all that so they have more information and more ammunition to do that with.
Yeah, no, that's why they want all this information, Maria, right?
So let he who has not sinned, let him cast the first stone.
Yes, that is a lesson that has been ignored for the last 2,000 years, but a very important lesson. You're absolutely right. Again, checking out the extent of our spying. How about this? So the European Union, okay? You know, we're talking Germany, France, Spain. I mean, the EU, Our friends. The EU, they have a new building on New York's 3rd Avenue down near the United Nations. A brand new building, okay? Freshly painted walls, untouched wiring, all this new building. It was a great showcase for the European Union. The New York Times reports, again, based on Edward Snowden's documents, God bless him, that this was also a real challenge for the NSA. Because with this new building, it was a little harder maybe to get access, a little harder. But when they opened up their big conference room, the room where all the ambassadors from 28 different countries meet and sit around the table every Tuesday morning, the entire room is wired by the NSA, listening to everything that's going on in that room. So before they opened the offices, NSA had wired the whole thing. And the floor plans included in Edward Snowden's papers are the floor plans for this building and where to put the microphones and everything. So we're spying on our friends, right?
That's pretty devious.
As well as we're spying on our adversaries, like China, and they're spying on us. And so our response is to really indict 5 members of the Chinese military. I'm sure this morning they're probably already booking their flights to New York. Oh, yeah, they want me to stand trial in the United States. Okay, I'll be right over. Yeah.
This
Don't hold
is
your
the
breath.
Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. When I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Tuesday morning, May 20, 33 minutes after the hour now on this Tuesday edition of The Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers. When you put all those together, you get the SMART Union under President Joseph Nigro, good men and women of the SMART Union, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. And find out more about their good work at their website, smart-union.org. So, questions yesterday at the briefing, for the most part, dominated by questions about the Veterans Administration. What is really going on? Are the allegations of delays and cover-ups where veterans have even died because they couldn't get treatment fast enough? Are they true, and what's being done about them? Josh Hicks has been reporting on this story from the beginning for the Washington Post, and we are lucky to have him join us in studio this morning. Hello, Josh. Good to see you.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So let me just say, first of all, this is, since I've been aware of issues at all, my father and my uncles all being veterans, I've heard complaints about the VA hospitals, right? So problems with the VA or complaints about the VA are not new, correct?
Yeah, they predate this administration for sure.
Right. And this administration, we learned yesterday, was actually President-elect Obama, was actually warned about potential problems existing problems at the VA by the outgoing administration.
Right.
And what did they do about it?
Well, the problems, a lot of the problems grew worse during the early years of the Obama administration. Of course, they had a lot more to deal with than just the VA. They had the financial meltdown and whatnot. So a lot of problems to deal with. But I think there are the main problems right now with the VA, the ones you hear most about are the backlog of disability claims and this problem with cover-ups of treatment delays, so basically cooking the books to make it seem like they're meeting their goals of seeing patients within 14 days. And then also they've had some problems with preventable deaths and just whether or not the hospitals are doing enough to keep their patients safe. So
now, Jay Carney keeps making the point at our briefings that acknowledging there are problems, but that there are two kinds of delays, right? There are delays in disability and then delays in treatment.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the delays in with disability claims, those grew to an enormous level. I think there was like 600,000 cases that had been in the system for more than 125 days. That became a huge problem. Finally, I think around maybe it was 2012, the Obama administration really got serious about this and made a concerted effort to bring these numbers down, and they have. They brought them down by about 45%.
Right. And a lot of that is isn't it due to more people in the system, right? Because they're coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right. We have two wars we've withdrawn from Iraq now. We're withdrawing from Afghanistan almost completely now. So we have a lot of people coming home. This is a new war generation. There's a lot more people in the system.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, this is something you could anticipate was going to happen because the war started back in 2003, and so they've had plenty of time to prepare.
Okay. So that's the disability side. The problems seem to be what's been reported on the treatment side, right? I mean, the one most serious allegation is that out in Phoenix, there were 40 people who died because they could not get treatment enough. And that on top of that, the VA officials lied about how long they'd been waiting for treatment just to make it look better than it was.
Yeah. And it's important to know, I mean, it's not proven yet that anybody died because of these treatment delays. There were dozens of people, probably 40 people, who happened to be on these alleged secret lists that died for whatever reason. But the VA makes that point that we don't know why they died. It's not necessarily because they were waiting for care, but they happen to be on this list, and maybe they did die because of that, but we don't know for sure yet.
Are these problems limited, alleged problems, I guess we have to say at this point, limited to Phoenix?
No, there are complaints emerging all over the country. I mean, the American Legion has an infographic right now on their website where they show at least 10 different states where serious allegations have arisen. They've been, in fact, the VA's own Office of the Medical Inspector issued a report a couple weeks ago that said that substantiated some claims in Fort Collins, Colorado. Same kind of allegations that they were cooking the books, trying to hide these treatment delays. And then you had an email that emerged from kind of a head nurse at a Cheyenne, Wyoming clinic, where there you have just documentary evidence right there that he had sent an email to other employees instructing them how to game the system and how to hide these delays. So it's hard to deny at this point. And really, if you heard the hearing last week, you got the sense from lawmakers that no one doesn't believe these claims anymore. Even though there's still an ongoing investigation, it's pretty clear that these problems exist. There's just too many locations where this is cropping up.
Now, the White House says they're not going to do anything until this investigation is complete. When is that going to be?
Good question. I mean, IG investigations can take weeks. They can take more than a year sometimes. And just considering the scope of this problem, because there are 10 locations just that we know of across the country where this may have occurred, it may take a while. Then again, it may be so clear what happened that we could see some kind of a report within weeks. And especially when something becomes this high profile, they may speed it up a bit. But
and the delays in treatment, are they due to lack of funding for the VA? Do we know, or
we don't know for sure?
What would be the excuse for?
I think that would definitely be what the VA would say, and you see some left-leaning lawmakers. I say left-leaning because Senator Sanders is Bernie Sanders from Vermont. He's actually an independent, but he, for all intents and purposes, is a Democrat. So he's raised that issue. He hasn't said definitively, I think this is a funding problem, but he said these are questions I want to dig into right now. Are they having funding problems? Do they have enough staff? Do they have their resources in the right places so that they need to not only add more personnel, but maybe shuffle some people around from one place to another?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the American Legion. The American Legion has been really very critical of the VA and demanding some action, demanding, I think, even that some people's heads ought to roll. One head did. Mr. Petzer, is that his name?
Petzel, yeah.
Petzel.
It's like pretzel without the R.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, good. Was he in charge of these? I mean, what was his role? And they seem to be relieved that he's gone.
Yeah, well, they weren't too satisfied. So he was he was the Undersecretary for Health for the VA. So yeah, he is sort of overseeing this, but that's from a very high level. Of course, he's not doing hands-on at every clinic, but the buck has to stop somewhere. So that's in large part with him, and of course with Shinseki. So, but the American Legion has not been
was
very.
Petzel fired? Or
Shinseki said, according to an Associated Press report, they said that Shinseki asked him to resign. Now, the VA had also announced last year in September that Petzl was going to retire this year. So I think the American Legion and a lot of lawmakers, Jeff Miller from the chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, are very unsatisfied with this. They see it as just kind of a trick because he was going to retire anyways. Let's get to kind of take the heat off a little bit. Let's have him leave right now. So that's the way it's being perceived. This is definitely not enough.
All right. Now, you say the buck has to stop somewhere, right? Well, it doesn't stop with the deputy secretary's desk, right? It really stops with the head of the VA, doesn't it? Shouldn't it? Or does it?
I think
General Shinseki, who's been there from the beginning.
He has. He's been there since the beginning of the administration. So anything, if there's, I guess, blame to be handed out for, these problems growing so bad before they become better, and having a lot of time to fix them, then that blame lies with him. The American Legion and all veteran service organizations and all lawmakers are very unequivocal about their, in terms of Shinseki's service to the country as a soldier. It's, his record is, beyond reproach. He's a decorated Vietnam War veteran. He has 2 Purple Hearts, but they just wonder if it's time for a change in leadership, and maybe this is not his thing. I mean,
even with that background, right, that doesn't mean you're a good administrator or a good manager or a good executive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not, but I mean, certainly. What gets me is that even yesterday, with all this latest stuff and the stories just every day seems are worse and worse. Jay Carney said, absolutely, the president has confidence in General Shinseki. This is sort of Obama's MO, isn't it, too? I mean, look at others who've gotten in trouble, right?
Yeah. I think, with the exception of the IRS, where there was pretty swift action to get rid of the IRS commissioner, maybe unjustly because he hadn't been there when all the problems occurred with the IRS, but they did in that case seem to want a very quick reaction and to kind of lower the heat a little bit on them. But you saw with Kathleen Sebelius with the healthcare.gov rollout, the Health and Human Services Secretary, the Obama administration stood by her. They gave her some time to try to fix the problems that occurred on her watch and then quietly let her leave. And, of course, the way these things happen in Washington, they say she resigned, but really, I think that's a case where she's no longer welcome to hold that position. It's either you're going to leave gracefully or we'll have to fire you. But they did give her that time to fix things up and find a good replacement. And it seems to be that's maybe what they're doing this time around, or that's what the speculation is.
And President Obama sent his deputy White House chief of staff, Rob Neighbors, a policy guy, over to Shinseki to help him fix the problem. Is that sort of a way of maybe saying, well, I don't have as much confidence in you as I'm pretending to have?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know actually why, because Rob Neighbors, I think he's maybe best known for his work during the fiscal cliff deal, kind of being a quiet deal maker. And so I almost wondered why he was the right guy. Maybe just because he's such a trusted advisor and he thinks he can get in there and really get to the bottom of things and just kind of do the best job the kind of job that Obama was looking for. But yeah, I think maybe that's not a sign of confidence for sure.
No, it certainly it seems to me it sent a pretty strong message. Josh Hicks is here from the Washington Post. We're talking about the Veterans Administration scandal, I guess you got to call it that these days. We know more about what's happening now, what it can be done to fix it, what is going to be done, and how soon. And will that be enough to hold off the hounds for a while? 866-55-PRESS. Your calls, your questions, your comments, get into the conversation right here on The Bill Press Show. We'll be right back.
This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American. As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, the Veterans Administration will be living, I don't know, on a deserted island. If you haven't heard about the latest allegations that actually some veterans have died while waiting for treatment, and then the VA lied about how long they had to wait. Don't know whether those allegations are true or not. Investigation is underway. Josh Hicks with the Washington Post has been covering the story for the Post from the beginning, our guest in studio this morning. When will we, I know we asked before we don't know when this investigation, I guess, is going to be complete. But my question to you is really, does it seem to you that the White House may have been a little slow to react to this scandal?
I think that's probably the perception.
I know as a reporter, I don't want to put you in the position of being a commentator. But let's put it this is a serious. This impacts a lot of people, right?
Yeah, and I think the response is so far just this continuous. We're going to wait for the results of the investigation. It makes sense to an extent. I mean, it's reasonable to an extent, but at the same time, it doesn't feel very satisfying. And I think you got the same sense with Eric Shinseki's testimony last week. It just seemed like he lacked a certain fire behind his statements when he said, "I'm mad as hell." It just didn't sound like really he was mad as hell. That may just be his personality, that he doesn't. He's not very hot-headed, but it just didn't seem. I don't think people sense a lot of fire and urgency from him or from this administration.
He didn't come out and say, "I just want you to know," boom, boom, boom. It was only in response to a question when they asked, "Well, how do you feel about this?" Right? They said, "Well, I'm mad as hell." Right?
Yeah. But right. Yeah, it wasn't. He didn't just come out and kind of impromptu say that. He had to be prompted to say that. So, it's. I think there's a lot of dissatisfaction with the response so far.
Some people don't. I didn't realize until this whole thing started again, we're talking about a huge bureaucracy, right, with the VA.
Yeah. It's the second largest federal agency. It has something like 8 million people who are receiving care through the VA. 200,000 patients a day for this healthcare system. Whoa. That's a lot, and that's something that the VA has brought up, and Senator Sanders, kind of in the VA's defense, has brought up. These guys, the VA health system, actually, believe it or not, gets very high marks from its users. Mm-hmm. There's a customer satisfaction survey that comes out every year from the University of Michigan. It's kind of a very prominent survey, well respected, and the VA's the VA's marks are very high. Compared to any equal to or better than private hospitals. So preventable deaths and treatment delays are something people are used to in the private sector with their hospitals or outside, VA hospitals. So this is not something that's really all that surprising that's happening. It's the cover-up that is a problem. And of course, people do want timely care for veterans. These people served our country, so put their lives on the line in many cases. So they do want to see good care. They don't want to see people waiting too long. If you have a serious problem, you don't want to wait more than 14 days to see a doctor. That's no matter whether you're a veteran or not, that's a huge problem. But I guess just the point I'm trying to make is that these are not unique to the VA. These types of problems, any kind of system that's dealing with these numbers.
They're not unique to the VA, as you pointed out, and I think this is important. We don't know all the facts yet. It's also important to point out that there are more and more people in the system today because we have one war ended and one war now winding down. And we have people who are, because of new medical technology, living longer with serious injuries that might not have survived, in previous. For all of those reasons, right, there's more pressure, more population, more demands on the VA than ever, right? At the same time, when you got a problem like this, you got to find out what happened and fix it fast, it seems to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it comes back to, I think, resources issues. So the Obama administration year after year has asked for more resources. They have generally gotten the resources they've asked for. And they've asked for another 3% increase, I think, for veterans' health in this 2015 budget. It's
well, it is one of the two or three biggest stories of the moment right now, and I think a potentially ticking political time bomb for the Obama administration. They better move on it fast, and gives you more work to do here, Josh. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. Of course, WashingtonPost.com. You can follow Josh and all the other great people at the Post. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
And I'll be back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing done, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, as we've been talking today, for those who kept demanding that President Obama get tough on spying, yesterday he came through. He finally cracked down. The problem is he cracked down on the wrong people. Through the Justice Department, Obama didn't crack down on the NSA. He didn't stop them from monitoring all of our phone calls and all of our emails. He didn't stop them from spying on our allies either. He didn't do anything about the NSA at all. Instead, the DOJ indicted members of China's People's Liberation Army, 5 of them, for spying on us, even though we spy on them all the time. Well, that's different, says the White House, because we only spy on them for national security reasons while they spy on us for economic reasons to help Chinese companies, which sounds good until you realize that documents released by Edward Snowden reveal that our government has also been spying on Huawei, for example, one of China's biggest internet companies, and other companies in China and in Europe. It seems to me that before we start a worldwide police action against spying, we ought to clean up our own house first. That's it for today, folks. See you back here again tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.